So we do, a ton of stuff on this channel in firearms training and advanced tactics and all the cool guy stuff that I learned in my time in Special Forces. But as a firearms instructor, I'm also a United States Concealed Carry Association partner instructor. I teach concealed handgun license classes, concealed carry home defense courses, advanced self-defense classes, things like that. And one of the things that's probably the most important for you to understand as a gun owner or someone who's carrying a weapon concealed or in public or in their vehicle, even in their home, is the legal use of force. And a majority of people really don't understand how detailed and intricate legal use of force actually is. And, I'm gonna be using notes for this one because when we're dealing with legalities and things like that, it's important that I get you guys the right information and all the information. Okay, so this video is really going to be kind of a crash course on the legal use of force from the perspective of what the government or the district attorney, the prosecutor, is going to be looking at in the event that you use your firearm to defend yourself, or you kill someone that attacked you or broke into your home, any of those different things, right? So a lot of people think that use of force is basically, someone attacks me and I use my weapon to defend myself, and that was legal use of force. Well, guys, I can tell you it is really way more complicated than that, right? And especially in reality of the situation, in a lot of places, guys, with the government being so anti-2A, prosecutors that want to prosecute any gun owner, whether you are in the right or not, they are coming after you. So it's so important for you guys to understand and do the right things when it comes to defending yourself. And so I'm gonna give you a little bit of a crash course on that. And right out the gate, guys, understand a lot of this stuff varies drastically state by state. Okay, so this will be more generalities. We're not going to get into super detailed moments that you should use force or things like that, because so much that varies by state. You really need to look into your state's laws and understand that. But this will be more of the generalities and what the prosecutor is going to be looking at and trying to get you guys for in the event that, the worst case event that you had to use your firearm to defend yourself. So right out the gate, for use of force, we really need to understand sort of the two kind of definitions for use of force, right? So you have reasonable force and then you have deadly force, okay? So they're two different things, but they can be the same thing. So for example, reasonable force is essentially the level of force that was reasonable for me to deal with my assailant, right? Now, reasonable force could be me yelling at the person. Reasonable force could be me drawing my firearm to get them to stop trying to come at me to attack me, right? Reasonable force even can be deadly force, right? If I have to kill you to stop you, that could be reasonable. Deadly force, and again, this is kind of state by state, but typically deadly force is anywhere from me pointing my firearm at you to actively shooting my firearm or shooting someone, right? That's really where that deadly force has escalated to. So I don't actually have to shoot my firearm for the DA to possibly charge me with attempted murder, right? So this is what I mean. This is really important, guys, for you to understand that even me just pointing my firearm at an assailant, the prosecutor could try to get me for attempted murder on that, right? So next thing, so use of force. What's an easy way to describe it? So what I like to tell people, best way to understand use of force is that my level of force as a defendant can never exceed the level of force of my assailant, right? So for example, if someone is yelling at me and telling me, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna do this, but they haven't actually come into my personal space, they haven't pulled out a firearm or anything like that, the threat of them saying I'm going to kill you if I pull out my weapon and I shoot them for that, that's not reasonable force, guys. No prosecutor is going to let you off the hook on that one, right? They're gonna hammer you for that, right? So kind of keep in mind that's sort of where that use of force works in that way, right? So let's get into some of the things the prosecutor will immediately look at in the event that you are in a situation where you had to discharge a firearm, you killed somebody, you defended yourself, anything like that, right? So the prosecutor is going to look at three things right out the gate. He's going to look at basically what's called avoid, escape, defend. So the first thing he's going to say is, could you have avoided the situation, right? So for example, in this one, let's say I'm in a parking lot, tailgating, whatever, at a football game, and I get in an argument with somebody, and they say, hey, F you, I'm gonna go get my gun out of my truck, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna kill you. So they go get their gun, I stay, I don't care. Even after that threat, they go out there through their vehicle, they get their gun, they come back, they pull their gun out, I draw my weapon first and I kill them, right? Even though they were attempting to murder me, I had every opportunity to avoid the situation and just leave. The prosecutor is going to look at that and he's going to say, boom, could you avoided it? Yes, you didn't. All right. So he's not going to be able to charge you with first degree murder, right? Because you did defend yourself, right? The assailant attacked you, was going to kill you with his gun, you defend yourself. But he's going to try to get you with something like manslaughter or something like that, right? Because you could have avoided it. So again, guys, there's an example of it's not as black and white as you might think it is, okay? So the next one is escape. So the prosecutor's going to say, could you have escaped the situation, okay? So the prior example, works perfect for that too, right? I had every opportunity to just leave, avoid, escape the situation. And again, same thing, prosecutor's gonna say, sorry, man, irresponsible. We're gonna try you with something, right? So that's what we most likely want to avoid, guys, right? Like what we ultimately want to avoid is going to trial with the jury of our peers at all in general, because there are a lot of people that are anti-firearm out there, right? And it's possible that you get a jury of peers that are super anti-two-way. They don't care what the situation is. They're going to put you in jail for defending yourself, right? So we want to avoid that at all costs. And the next one with that is defend, right? So I couldn't avoid the situation. I couldn't escape the situation. I had to defend myself, right? So let's say I'm, walking down the street and somebody comes up to mug me, they grab me, they've got a knife, right? And they actively are trying to stab me, okay? So yes, pretty easy open and shut case on that one, right? You defended yourself because they were about to kill you out of nowhere. You had nowhere to go, nowhere to run. You were able to defend yourself. But what the prosecutor is going to look at for defend is what's called the reasonable person test. So he's going to say, would any other person, any other regular person have conducted themselves in the same way you did in this situation? So with what we just talked about, of course, everybody is going to, if they're about to be killed with a knife from a mugger, they're going to defend themselves, right? Or if somebody tries to kidnap your kids at knife point or whatever, right? So what is not a reasonable person is a situation, for example, I'm out with my buddies, we're at a bar, somebody walks by me and bumps into me and spills my drink, and we get in a cursing match with each other, and we say step outside, we go outside, and we get in a fight. I start losing, this guy's beating the hell out of me, and then I pull my gun out and I use it to defend myself. Well, even if I'm defending myself, the prosecutor is going to say, no way, no reasonable person would have done that, right? You are not an innocent party, and they are going to definitely try you, right? So keep things like that in mind. That, again, it's not just black and white of you attacked me, I defended myself. It's not how it's going to necessarily work, okay? So the deadly force checklist, right? So the prosecutor is going to go down a checklist to see if deadly force was warranted, right? And if any of these things are missing, then the prosecutor is most likely going to try you for, manslaughter, murder, whatever. So first thing, you have to have immediate fear of death of yourself or to someone else, right? Now, if someone is stabbing someone to death in front of you, yeah, that's obviously gonna work. Somebody tries to mug you at gunpoint, That's another one, right? So next one is you must be an innocent party, right? So you can't be the aggressor in the situation like we just talked about. I can't start the conflict and then when someone else pulls out a weapon, even though I'm defending myself, right? I was the aggressor initially. The prosecutor's going to say not happening, right? He's not going to necessarily be able to get you for murder because they attacked you, but he is going to try to get you for something like manslaughter. So no lesser force is sufficient, right, guys? You couldn't stop this person in any other way, right? So I couldn't stop him just physically. I couldn't get out of the situation. I had no other means but to use my firearm. That's going to be number 3. And no reasonable means of escape, right? So like we talked about earlier, there was no possible way for me to get out of the situation without having to defend myself with a firearm, right? So some of these are easy, especially if you are defending your home, right? That's where there's so many castle laws, and these make it easy, right? So are you an innocent party when someone breaks into your house? Yes. No reasonable means of escape? Yes, you can't go anywhere. All those things are easy, right? But we still got to keep them all in mind as a gun owner, for sure. So next we'll get into this section is going to be very, very important. You guys should probably write some of these down when we get into what to say to the police and actions to take in the event that you're involved in this type of situation. This is straight from the legal realm and the lawyers over at the USCCA. Guys, so I'm not giving you bad information here, right? So aftermath. Let's say you were involved in a shooting out in public for whatever reason. Somebody was attacking you, they pulled their firearm on you, they tried to carjack you, whatever, right? So you end up discharging your firearm, whether you kill them, whether they get hit, they run off, whatnot, doesn't matter. First things first, retreat to a safe area, guys, right? We don't know what else is going on around us. We don't know if there was multiple people. So get to a safe area. Next thing, this one comes from combat too. Your adrenaline is so high, guys. You don't know if you've necessarily even been shot or injured or stabbed or whatnot. So make sure you do a quick cursory search of yourself if you're bleeding, so that way you know that if you've been injured or not. Next one, you need to make 3 phone calls. The first phone call needs to be to 911 and you need to make it. Don't let any witnesses make it. It's going to be very important later for your lawyer to be able to frame it in a way of you as the defendant here if you make that phone call. So you need to call 911 and report what has happened. Someone attacked you, you used your weapon to defend yourself, and guys, leave it at that. Don't get any more detailed than that. Tell them you need police, ambulance, whatever to come. Hang your phone up, and then next, call your lawyer. Immediately tell your lawyer what's happened. And then number 3, guys, you need to call your family. You need to call your wife, or your kids, or your husband, or whoever, and you need to tell them, do not talk to anyone. Do not talk to the police. Do not talk to the media, right? If the police show up to your house, tell your family to tell them you do not consent to them searching your home, and that they will make no statements without their lawyer present, okay? So all this stuff is really important, guys, because you might think you're an innocent party, right? But anything you say can be twisted and used against you by the district attorney, right? So it's just better that you say nothing, okay? So that is the 3 phone calls you make right away. Next is getting ready for the police to arrive. Okay, so understand that the police are showing up to an active shooter situation, right? They're gonna be on high alert, they're gonna be intense, they're gonna be ready to use their firearms. They don't know what they're walking into. So you need to either have already reholstered your firearm or put it aside. If you do have it reholstered, have your hands up high and do not move when the police show up. It doesn't matter. Don't try to be explaining to them that you're the good guy, that you stopped the murderer, whatever. It doesn't matter. All that matters right now is that we don't get shot and killed by the police in this situation, okay? So comply with all commands, and they are going to put you under arrest. That's the reality of it, as they're trying to figure out what the situation is, okay? So At this point, and this is the most important part of the video, guys, you are going to give a 4-part statement to the police. Guys, write this down and just commit this to memory. In the event that this happens, this will potentially save your livelihood further on in court. 4-part statement. So you're going to say to the police, I was attacked by that person. Okay, number 1, you're going to point out your assailant. Number 2, you're going to point out the evidence. They attacked me with this baseball bat, with that knife, with that gun. Okay, and make sure the police see the evidence of what they tried to attack you with. Number 3, point out any witnesses that saw it, right? Those people witnessed this happen, okay? And number 4, and probably the most important one, you were going to tell them, I have spoken with my attorney and I will wait until he arrives to give statement, okay? So at that point, guys, there's only 2 other things you're going to say to the police, right? You're not, and again, you're not trying to be uncooperative or anything like that. It's just that, guys, you're going to be in extreme levels of stress. You're going to say things you didn't actually mean to say. Those things are going to be twisted. They're going to be used against you. So it's just better that you go with that 4-part statement. If the police continue to try to question you, there are 2 other statements that you will make, and you will say nothing else. Okay, those 2 things are, and I'm going to read them off verbatim because it's important. I want my lawyer present before I answer any questions. I invoke my right to remain silent. Number 1. And number 2, I do not consent to a search of my person or my property. Okay, those are the things you're going to say to the police. Again, you're not being aggressive or anything like that with the police. You really just have to understand that anything, as they tell you, anything you say or do can be used against you in the court of law, right? And if a district attorney decides he wants to get you guys, then you know it's really important that you don't put yourselves in any type of situation that they're going to be able to mold and use against you, and then try to convince the jury of your peers that you were actually the bad guy in this situation, right? So that is going to sort of wrap it up for the generalities. I know this video is a little bit longer, guys, but as firearm owners, and especially if we're carrying a weapon in public, guys, you have to know these things. You have to know legal use of force. You have to know your state laws. Otherwise, you're flirting with disaster, right? Because again, there are a lot of times that these DAs, even though you were in the right and some criminal, try to rob you, attack you, and then they don't care. They want to put you away because you are a Pro 2A person, right? So that's the reality of it, guys. So we have to take every step and understand every little situation to make sure that we're not only keeping ourselves safe physically through self-defense, but that we're keeping our family and our livelihood safe through the legal realm of understanding as well. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and again, write some of these things down, guys, because this is really important stuff. All right, take care.